My friends, welcome back. Happy Friday. Hey, real quick, guys, let me know here in the chat if you can hear me. I was having a little bit of sound issues before we went live. So just let me know real quick if you guys can hear me. Just thumbs up one time. Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, cool. Looks like everything is good. Well, my friends, good to see you guys. We missed last week. Yeah, I was out of town last week, but I am so stoked to be back for another Dividend Happy Hour. I missed you guys last week. I think I'm going to be a little bit rusty. Once you take like a week off from streaming, coming back to it, you're always a little bit rusty. Uh-oh, Steven says, I can see you, but no sound. Okay. I think we're okay. But anyway, guys, yeah, welcome back to episode 113, I guess, right? Hope everyone had a really good week. It was a very eventful week on the stock market. I'm sure a lot of you guys are the same. My portfolio right now is sitting at all-time highs. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. just a moment. But before we get into anything else, before I ramble any farther, guys, you guys know what we got to do. See, I told you I'm a little bit rusty tonight. I'll warm up. It'll take a minute to get some of the rust off. But anyway, guys, grab whatever it is you're sipping on. Let's do a quick cheers. So first and foremost, here's to you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in with me tonight for another fun and eventful Dividend Happy Hour. And number two, well, yeah, I mean, also here's to the dividends. Here's to the pursuit of that sweet, sweet cash flow, which is really what's bringing us together. But more importantly, here's to you guys. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me tonight. So cheers. And let me know a few things here in the live chat or in the comments below if you're watching the replay. Number one, I want to know which stocks you guys added to your portfolio this week. What good stuff did you buy? Let me know that in the chat. Number two, let me know, what are you sipping on tonight for the Dividend Happy Hour? Personally speaking, I got myself one of my favorites, a little Fresca here, the gift that keeps on giving. Love me some Fresca. Oh, so good. So let me know that. Number three, did you guys hit any cool milestones in your portfolio this week? Did anything cool happen? Maybe, well, I'm sure a lot of you guys are sitting at all-time highs, but yeah, let me know about that. And maybe some dividend income milestones that happen. Maybe you're on track to have your highest month of income yet, or you hit your 100th share of SCHD or 300th share of SCHD post-split. Yeah, let me know whatever cool things happened to you guys this week. I'd love to shout out some of your achievements. But also, for the fourth thing, last but not least, I want to know if we have any first-timers here in the Dividend Happy Hour. If so, I'd love to know about it. And just in case this is your first time tuning into the live stream, we do this typically every Friday night, unless I'm out of town or betrothed in some way. We do this every Friday night starting at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll be here live every week, typically every week. So anyway, let me know those handful of things here in the chat. Let me scroll up real quick and see who all we got in the building tonight. So I'm going to scroll all the way up to the tippy top here. Starting to find my groove, guys. Starting to loosen up a little bit. Like I said, sometimes it takes a moment to get into it. But anyway, you find your rhythm. Anyway, up here at the top, I see Haas. I see Pat. I see Run DMS. Striper Kids here. Thieve IBP. Forgot my fizzy water. Nice. We got Rye the Investor Guy. What's going on? Exo Plays. What is happening? Let's see. Run DMS sipping a little Coors Light there. Nice. We got X Dividend Dad in the bizzle. Cool. TF is here. What's going on? We got Matt in the building. The legendary Zal is here as well. Chuck's here. Good to see you, Chuck. Great God. What is going on? Anthony William Charash. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Fast Eddie's here. What's going on? And Suzuki Man is here. What is happening, my friend? Thomas is in the building. Dave's in the building. Not affiliated is in the building. Or, yeah, not associated or not applicable. One of those three, right? Mike's here. Nam is here. What's going on? Jana, Drew. Okay. Tess. Yeah, tell the wife you can't leave home on Fridays. I know, man. I know. And real quick, looks like we got a little super sticker here from Tess for $5. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Super nice. Who else we got? Jim's here. The Lean Mean Dean Machine is in the building. JJ's here. Investors here, or Invest Right, excuse me. Alan says I should collab with Russ. You know, it's been a while since Russ and I have done a stream together. Typically, we do one. I feel like every couple of months. We talk all the time. Me and Russ typically will text like every day. But yeah, we should do a live stream together sometime soon because I think it's been a while. And thank goodness for Russ. The couple times recently that I haven't been able to live stream, he's kind of hopped in and taken over the time slot. So I think it's really cool that he does that. But yeah, I'd love to do a stream with him sometime soon. But anyway, it looks like I'm now in the portion of the stream looking at your guys' purchases. So I see some SCHD. I see some Williams Sonoma. Interesting pickup, Suzuki, man. A little Williams Sonoma. I see some VGT, LYB, Hess Midstream, little UNH. Nice. Let's see. Also, what's up, Shamir? Good to see you, man. I see a little CCJ. What is CCJ? That is... I'm not familiar with that company. Cameco? CAMECO? I've never heard of that one. Let's see. Ooh, Mike picked up 10 shares of Blue Owl Capital Corporation. Nice, good stuff. I see some SoFi. A few people picking up SoFi, it looks like. And this is pretty crazy. So Rye crossed 1,500 shares of SCHD, which means pre-split, you're looking at 500. You had 500 shares pre-split, or almost 500 shares. That's crazy, man. Good job. Really good milestone. Okay, so it looks like we got a couple of first timers here in the building. We got Sid, Scorpio's first timer as well. Nice, welcome, guys. Yeah, once again, we did this every Friday night, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And I'll let you know if for some reason there's not going to be a live stream. I'll always announce it beforehand. Typically, either way, I always announce the live stream details beforehand, whether it's happening or not. So let's see. Oh, interesting. Matt sipping on an Arizona premium spiked mucho mango cocktail. I used to love, I haven't had their cocktails, but I used to love those mucho mango Arizona teas back in the days. Those were my jam. I remember being in high school, like my freshman and sophomore year, Arizona iced tea was like the cool thing to drink. So I'd always get one at lunch. Jones soda too. I grew up loving Jones soda. I know we've talked about that before on the stream. I actually, funny enough, I was in the grocery store last week or earlier this week actually, and just walking through the aisle, I saw they had Jones soda. It was the first time in a long time I've seen someone stocked up on that. They have my favorite blue bubble gum too. I was tempted to get it. I didn't do it, but maybe I'll go back for it. Let's see here. Let's keep going. I see some more SCHDs. Let's see. Let's see here. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I'll get it back. Got to get back the train of thought. Oh, nice. JJ started a new position in Vici, trying to get them dividends up. Well, that'll definitely do it, my friend. I mean, Vici's had a pretty nice run up, but their yield, I believe, is still over 5%. So you're, still locking in a nice cash flow return. I love me some Vici. Nice. Looks like Shannon went on a little shopping spree. Some Procter & Gamble, Chevron, Archer Daniels Midland, T. Rowe Price. Good stuff. Nice. Portfolios at all-time highs and just hit, I'm guessing, what is $3,500 per year in dividend income, right? So nice stuff, Shannon. Keep it up. Korean Cardboard picked up some enterprise products partners. Nice. Yeah, 98 shares, almost to that even 100, my friend. You can get there next week for sure. That's cool. Let's see. Yeah, I like EPD too. There we go. Thief here hit $10,000 base investment in $1K per year in dividends. Small win. So yeah, nice. Well, I mean, both of those are cool milestones. So you have a 10%, rocking with a 10% dividend yield in your portfolio right now, right? That's pretty crazy. If let me know if I'm right on that. I mean, that math adds up. If you're bringing in 1K per year and your portfolio is valued at $10,000, yeah, you should be sitting at a 10% dividend yield. That's pretty dang high. Pretty dang high. Pretty eyebrow raisingly high, even. Okay, let's see. Jana hit a 800th share of SCHD. Nice. Looks like a couple little sales too out of Kenview and PSX. I'm not familiar with PSX, but bought into Verizon and VYMI. Interesting. Nice. Russ's ears must have been burning. What's going on, man? What is going on? Good to see you in the stream. Let's see. Oh, I see a little ASML pickup. Nice. Yeah. Has it really been 4 months, man? Russ, dude, we're overdue. Maybe next week or something we'll have to, I don't know if you're still in the stream, Russ, but when we'll text about it. But man, maybe if you're around next week, we'll do a live stream together. That'd be fun. Thank you, G. What is going on? Always stopping by to give support, man. Keep it up. Thank you, my friend. You keep it up as well. And thanks for all the support. And that goes out to all of you guys. Thank you so much for all of the support. Fun little milestone. I posted about it in the community, but earlier this week on the 15th, which would have been Tuesday, marked my, I guess, 4-year anniversary of making YouTube videos. So October 15th, 2020 was when I posted my very first investing video here on the channel. And it's been 4 years. That's pretty crazy. It's been a wild ride. It's been a lot of fun. Really fun. Crazy to think it's been 4 years. Doesn't feel like it's been that long. Oh, this is cool. Heather. Yeah, and Heather, you were here with the Lean Mean Dean machine in Vegas, I think, when he was recently in town, right? But yeah, Dean got you going with dividend stocks in your channel. Very new to this and just downloaded the tracker. Very excited. That's awesome, Heather. And yeah, if you have any questions on the portfolio tracker or anything, feel free to shoot me an email. And that goes out to all of you guys. If you ever need anything, feel free to hit the email. I'm pretty good about responding. Sometimes it takes me a day or a couple days, but I try to respond to all of my emails. What's up, Sir Dude Bro Man? What is going on? Okay, I want to show you guys. I'm a few minutes behind in the chat. I want to show you guys. Let me just scroll down and get caught up here. This is pretty crazy. Sir Dude Bro Man says I almost got to 31K in the portfolio. I remember hitting 10K last January. That's crazy, man. You're making some really good strides. Keep it up. Keep it up. Dang, this Trent guy. Not Myron. Not a fan, I guess. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys, though, where the portfolio is sitting at here. So let's jump over to the portfolio tracking spreadsheet, which, by the way, guys, you can download this for free if you want to start using it. There's a link in the description of the video. But like I was saying earlier, we are sitting at all-time highs right now. We are $84,321 portfolio value. And I think it was pretty dang recently, right, that we had just hit 84,000. I know going into September, I think we were at 82,000. So it would have been just before then, maybe days before then. Sometime into September, we hit 80K. So we're really flying through this so far. The market has definitely been good. And just a little update on my newest position here, Clear Secure, ticker symbol U right here. This is the one that I've been building up really this last month or so now. I'm dollar cost averaging into this every single week, not fast enough. But anyway, it's already up 10.3% just in the last few weeks. Excuse me. So that's a pretty decent return so far. It was up about 15%, but Clear Secure had a little bit of a dip today. They're down 3.4% for the day. And this one's been kind of swingy lately, so not too much of a surprise. And I am very proud to see, guys, I won't ramble on this too much longer. We'll get back to the chat. But I'm very proud to see what KRC has been doing lately. I'm now up, 16.25% in terms of share price. It wasn't that long ago that I was actually in the red on this position. Total returns looking pretty good too, up 26.6%. So still holding strong with that bad boy. And, it's been paying off lately. So we'll see where it goes from here. But yeah, anyway, that's what's been happening in the portfolio. Things are really good. So we'll see what next week brings though. And that's just this, it's kind of like, the more that the portfolio goes up in the short term here, the more I think it's not going to last. The more I think, okay, next week's going to be a big red week, or I think, I'm at 84 something right now. Something's going to happen. I'm going to get back down into the 70s. It's just the gains, and I've been saying this now, I think for the last couple of months, the gains have just been they've come too easily lately. So yeah, it's been 4 years. Let's see. All right, this Trent dude is just trolling. He's not doing us any good. He's about to get out of here. We'll see though. No, I'm gonna leave him. Looks like you guys are jumping in. Thank you. Thank you. But anyway, let's keep going. Let's see what else we missed here in the chat. Yeah, Snap-on really popped. And that's another thing too. We are knee deep in earnings season right now, guys. So far I've listened to Johnson & Johnson's earnings, went through those, took some notes on those. Snap-on, yeah, Snap-on's earnings, I went through those today too. Pretty good. So it looked like Snap-on saw a slight sales decrease year over year, but nothing too crazy. And they just missed their earnings or their revenue expectations, but beat on earnings. So that was good. And it looks like their margins had improved. So that's good as well. Things are looking pretty good with Snap-on. So, but yeah, crazy jump with, I forgot to mention this earlier too. If we go back to the spreadsheet, crazy jump with this one too. Let's actually go look over here on SnapStock and show you guys what's been going on. So let's zoom in a little bit closer here to Snap-on. Just yesterday, yeah, it was yesterday, it jumped about 10%. So I think it ended the day like 9.97% or something along those lines. And we can see just in the last month, it's up 15%. Year to date, Snap-on's looking pretty good, up 17.7%. So pretty much all their gains so far this year have come just in the last month. But that is a crazy jump right there. And it seemed like there were periods where, at least so far this year, where Snap-on, it was wanting to get to that $300 per share mark. It would go up, hit the high 280s as early as February this year. Then it would dip back down and then go back up again into the 280s, 290s here even, and then dip back down again. And then since July, or kind of like mid-July, right in here, started to pick back up and is making its way ascent officially now to 326.09. So this one has been fun to watch for sure. And I'm going to be putting out a video here this week and talking a little bit more on Snap-on. So I got to work on that a little more tomorrow, actually. But anyway, this is a good question here. So Baked Potato wants to know, is it best to invest little by little or do a chunk all at once? So, I mean, I think it depends how much we're talking here. I think if let's say that you have like $1,000 to invest right now. Okay. I think, you could maybe lump sum that and it would be cool. Like that'd be totally kosher. You could also dollar cost average into it. If you had 1,000, you could put $100 in every week, or, 250 every week till you get that full 1K invested. But I think if you have $1,000 or so, you could lump sum that and it'd be totally fine. I think as you get higher and higher in the money that you're trying to invest, I think it makes a bit more, maybe not make sense, but I personally would feel better spreading it out. Like, for example, if I had $10,000 right now, just ready to be invested, I probably wouldn't invest all 10K at once. Me personally speaking, I wouldn't. I would dollar cost average that into the market throughout a period of weeks. I might do, $1,000 invested per week and spread out those contributions or spread out those investments over time. So I think it just depends how much you're working with. And also I think it depends what you're investing into as well. Now, if you're investing into like an individual stock, you see something that looks good, it's at a good price, then yeah, maybe it's good to pick up as much as you can while it's at a good price. But if it's something that like an ETF, like if you're going to be buying SCHD or VU, yeah, I think once again, you can go either way, but I think as you get higher in the amount of money that you're investing, it makes sense to spread that out. Okay. That was a good question. Oh, this is a cool milestone for Zal. I just realized that thanks to this recent market jump, my stock portfolio crested. That's a good word. $300,000. Baby steps. Absolutely, ma'am. That's crazy. 300K, one third of the way. Well, almost one third of the way to that, $1 million mark. Nice. And Zal, I'd be curious to know too, like where did you start the portfolio at this year going into 2024? What was the value compared to now? It's been a good year, guys. It's been a good year for us investors. Let's see. Steve says, Ryan, do you hold any MSTR? I think that's Monster, right? MSTR. Oh no, definitely not Monster. Um, so MSTR apparently is MicroStrategy Incorporated, and I've never heard of this company before. Steve here says that it's a non-dividend payer. So this is automatically is going to put it outside of my outside of my investable universe. So no, I don't own any of this company, but what is it? Enterprise analytics software and services worldwide. It offers, let's just go to the website. Maybe that'll be better. Trusted data, AI powered at your fingertips. Okay. Huh. Interesting. So I don't know. I mean, I can't exactly get a good gauge on what kind of data they offer so far. So I don't know. I'd have to spend a little more time with this company. But while we're looking at it, let's just go take a quick scroll through the financials and see what it's looking like. Looks like it's had a killer year. Holy cow. Up 520% in the last 365 days. That's crazy. But it does not look like this company's profitable. Yeah. This is interesting. So what interesting. There must be some sort of hype or news or something behind this company to drive the share price up like this, because these financials don't look that great. I mean, the revenue's actually been going down over the last 10 years, unless this is inaccurate. Yeah, the earnings is all over the place. Free cash flow is still negative. Um, debt's getting pretty gnarly. Not great like returns. So I don't know. What is the draw to investing in this company? I don't know. Oh, nice. Korean Cardboard says, good job with the 936 mile. I'm at 11, need to lose 16 pounds. Nice, man. Honestly, I mean, I just started getting back into running. This is my really my second week back. And it's been feeling really good. So, but 11, an 11 minute per mile pace, that's a nice little cruise right there. And I get you with needing to lose those 16 pounds. I mean, just keep at it, just keep running, and that'll really go a long way. If you can just consistently get those steps in, I think that'll really make a big difference. And don't worry so much about the pace either. I think that'll work itself out over time. See, I feel like my pace has been very slow. Typically, like I'm not too far off from where you're at. I think I've typically been in the 10s so far, but I'm really not trying to push it too hard and go too fast too soon. Really trying to let my body acclimate to running again. So yeah, the pace will come over time. Let's see. This is a good question. So Oakenhart says, how long do you need for a dividend growth strategy to work? I'm 51 and I hope to retire in my early 60s. That's a good question. So I think the general rule of thumb is the longer the better. Dividend investing and investing in general is one of those things where it just gets better the longer you do it. But if you're trying to retire in your early 60s, you're 51 right now, if you can give yourself 10 years, I think you can get a lot of really solid compounding done in those 10 years. You can do a lot in 10 years. Now, with that, you probably will want to consider, I mean, because you're starting, in your 50s as opposed to in your 20s or your 30s or even your 40s, you'll have to invest a bit more aggressively to make up for that lost time. So, um, but with that said, you can still get a lot done in 10 years. So I would encourage you to just hit it as hard as you can. Um, and I think you'd be surprised at how much your portfolio can grow in that period of time. If you're early 60s, you're talking 50 or 61, 62, 63. Yeah, I think you could build a pretty rock solid portfolio in that period of time. I've seen some of you guys here in the audience just make some incredible strides in no time at all in your portfolios. Um, and a lot of it, especially at first, if I don't know what your portfolio value is right now, but especially at first, um, your contributions are going to do a lot of the heavy lifting in the growth of your portfolio. And the reason for that is because when you have a lower portfolio value, let's say, 100K or less, um, the compound interest isn't quite yet at a point where it's really able to move the needle in your portfolio. And as an example, let's say you have a $100,000 portfolio, an 8% return on that is going to be $8,000. Now that's going to be a huge addition, much larger addition to your overall portfolio value, as opposed to if you saw the same return, an 8% return with a $10,000 portfolio, right? That would only be $800. So it's a much larger difference. So, um, I'm kind of rambling at this point, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. Long story short, I would encourage you to just hit it as hard as you can from now until you plan to retire. And yeah, you'll be okay. Even if you had to push it to about 65 or so, which is normal, another 13, 14 years, you can build a really great portfolio. So hopefully that answers your question. I know that was a very roundabout answer. So, and this is a great question, baked potato. You're bringing the heat tonight. If you had to start over again, what would you do as soon as you turn 18? So if I could start all over again, at 18 years old, in general, I would just start investing. I wish that I had done that when I was 18. My little brother just turned 18. I'm really trying to encourage him to start thinking about it. It's kind of on his radar. I think it's more so on his radar because I talk about it so much. But in general, if I was 18, I would just say start investing. Just start investing, and even if you went slowly, we're able to only contribute $5 a week or $10 a week or $25 a week at that point in time. You're still going to give yourself a huge leg up to a different version of yourself that maybe didn't start until 22 or 24 or 26 or even 30. So I think just the fact that you would be starting investing at 18 is huge, and I don't think you can do any wrong. Um, so yeah, and if you're someone who's starting out with no experience, you don't really know exactly where to put your money, I'd highly encourage you to just look into ETFs, exchange traded funds. You can't go wrong just putting your money in the S&P. That's a great place to, I would say that's a great place to start, but that's a great place to stay. If you don't want to make it any more complicated than that, you can just put all your money into something like VU. SCHD, if you want to go the dividend route, SCHD is like the holy grail of dividend ETFs, but there's also a handful of other really good options as well. DGRO, VIG, VYM. Um, there's a lot of really good options out there. So, um, but yeah, I would encourage you to just maybe rock with some ETFs at first, and if at any point you feel like expanding beyond that into individual companies, you can cross that bridge and to get there. But yeah, just get started. Do what you can. I think that's great that you're already thinking about this at that age. So. This is a good question too. So, what's your thoughts on making Blue Owl the centerpiece of a portfolio? So, that's a really good question. I think it depends on. Hmm, let me think about this for a second. Actually, so it depends what we're talking here. When you say make it the centerpiece of your portfolio, are you saying, what do I think about making Blue Owl 50% of your portfolio, 20%? 10%? What's kind of the number that we're talking here? If it's a super big number, like 50%, I would say, probably not. Um, but if kind of my general rule of thumb with any one individual position like that would be around 10%. I try not to go too far beyond that, but there are exceptions. I look at something like Visa, for example, and I would feel very confident having 15 or 20% of my portfolio in Visa if it got up to that point. Um, I like Blue Owl, but I like Blue Owl. It just serves a different purpose in the portfolio, I think. And for me personally, I don't think I would ever make it like build my entire portfolio around that one company. I think it's a fine company. I've done pretty well owning it, but it's not one that I would make one of my core positions. Not because I think it's bad. I just think I'd rather have something like Visa be the centerpiece of my portfolio, or Procter and Gamble, or um, let's see. I mean, Starbucks is up there too. Williams Sonoma, even. I'd rather have larger positions in stuff like that. So, oh, that's cool. I ultra marathon trail races, Run DMS says. That's why I'm named Run. That's cool. Yeah, that's so. What are those? What are ultra marathons? That's over like 50 miles, right? Ultra marathon. Oh no, it's 20, 26, 26. I thought that was a standard marathon though. I thought a marathon was 26.2. So what would be an ultra marathon? Just thinking about running hurts my knees. Yeah. Yeah, I get you. That's why I think you gotta I think that's why it's good to take it slow and not do too much too fast, because yeah, you can definitely get injured that way. So Dominique watching from Cambodia. Dominique, so officially retired and moved, right? Like you're there. Congratulations. How's it feel? How does it feel? That's very cool. Oh, this is a good question. How will the upcoming election affect the market these next couple of weeks? I have no idea. I have no clue what's going to happen these next couple of weeks. Some volatility. I'm sure we'll see some volatility, and maybe depending on what the results are, there will be more volatility. But it's not something that I would stress too much about if I was you. In the grand scheme of things, it's not going to be a huge determining factor in the market. I don't think so. Don't stress about it too much. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Let's see. Nams here says, "What do you think about investing in URA ETF?" Let's see what that is, because I'm not familiar with it. So URA. Oh, interesting. So this is the Global X Uranium ETF with an expense ratio of 0.7%. Okay. I guess, let's see. Huh. What kind of companies does this own? So I'm guessing this is obviously if you want some exposure to uranium and whatnot, this would be fine to own, but I don't really know too much about uranium. So I have nice dividend stats though. What's the dividend per share done? Huh. So it looks like they pay out hmm. Okay, so they're paying dividends every 6 months, it looks like. One big payment, one small payment. Hmm. Dividends kind of been all over the place. So I don't know. I really probably am not the best person to ask about this, because I just don't know anything about uranium whatsoever. So, but I mean, generally, if you want some exposure to uranium and don't want to pick individual companies, then this is not a bad route to go. Not unlike if you wanted exposure to semiconductors or consumer staples and didn't want to pick one company, it's fine to just go with like a sector or industry specific ETF. So I don't know what's the total returns look like with this. We can check that out. So let's see here. So performance, total return. Hmm. Oh, it's done very well. At least in the last 5 years, 10 years, not so much, but um, against the S&P, I mean, but yeah, last 5 years have been really good for this ETF. Wow. So I don't know. I can't say that I have a strong opinion about this ETF, but yeah, generally, if you want exposure to that type of industry, that's probably a decent way to go about it. The expense ratio is decently high. I mean, 0.7%. I'm not sure if that's typical for those kind of ETFs, but I don't know. Seems okay. Wow, Zal. So start of the year just under 200K. Geez, so I'm up about 50%, including contributions. Good stuff. Good stuff, man. This is a good question too. So, Alan says, do you think it's good to hold ETFs that track each index, like one that tracks the S&P, one that tracks the Nasdaq, and one that tracks the Russell? I don't think it's necessary. I think you could get by just owning. I think you get by just owning like an S&P ETF, and I think it will probably hit the objective that you're trying to get. And if we look at like the Nasdaq, let's see if we can find like a um, Nasdaq top holdings. So let's check it out. So a lot of these are going to be like if you look at these top 10 right here, um, these are going to be pretty similar to what you'd find in something like VU, right? So if we go here, just look at the top holdings. And if you guys have like a Nasdaq ETF, like like kind of like how we have VU for the S&P, if there's a Nasdaq ETF, we can compare the overlap here. But just by looking at this, you can see the top 10 holdings in this S&P ETF are pretty much identical to what you'd find in the Nasdaq top holdings. So yeah, I don't think it's necessary to do an S&P ETF, a Nasdaq ETF, and a Russell ETF. I think you'd be fine just going into VU or some equivalent. Let's see. Wow, Striper Kid, I built up a 130K portfolio in less than 3 years. That's very impressive. The growth stocks got me here faster. Got it. Looks like we got another super chat here from Shoddy. Can you explain how buying lows can actually lock in high fib and give me examples, please? I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure that I understand the question. Also, real quick, I see my man Kevin Burgess in the building. What's up, Kevin? And I'm sorry, guys. I'm kind of jumping over some of these comments real quick. I'll scroll back up, but I'd like to get some clarification on this question here because I'm not quite sure I understand it. So we're talking about buying lows. How can buying lows actually lock in high fib? I wonder if he means high div, like high dividends. So if that's the case, let's go back over here. So if we look at lows, okay, we can see, we'll go look at it over here too. So the thing about lows, it's not and if along the way I'm answering the wrong question here, let me know. But this is my interpretation so far. So as we can see here from lows, it's not a high yield dividend stock by any means. The yield in the trailing 12 months is about 2%. the dividend growth CAGR is where this stock really shines, and it is a dividend king, despite what it says right here. Um, but Lowe's is known more for being a dividend growth stock. They have a 20.5% 5-year dividend growth rate. And if we scroll down right here, we can see that the dividend growth has just been very consistent and very aggressive over the last 5 and 10-year period. And so you can get big dividends from just buying this stock and holding on to it, because over the years that dividend growth is going to do its thing. And over time, you'll be able to establish a very impressive yield on cost, which measures the amount of dividends you're getting compared to the initial price that you paid for your shares on average. So, for example, in Lowe's case, let's say they had paid $2 in dividends, $2 in dividends per share per year. You bought each share at $100. That's a 2% yield on cost that you locked in. But let's say then that dividend per share goes up to $4 per share. So then your yield on cost with the same average cost per share, $100, goes from 2% to 4%. And I'll give you a better visual of what that looks like. So let's say you bought Lowe's, let's scroll down here, maybe 10 years ago. Okay. So at the time you would have locked in, let's look at this chart. At the time, 10 years ago, when you bought it, you would have bought Lowe's for a yield of 1.5%, 1.6% 10 years ago. If you would have bought October 17th, well, actually, no, go back here. If you'd have bought October 17th, 2014, your yield would have been about 1.5%. Today, the dividend yield is not much better, 1.6%. So it's been very steady over the last decade. But because of dividend growth, because that dividend has grown so aggressive, your yield on cost today, where initially when you locked it in, it was 1.5%, your yield on cost today, after just holding on for 10 years, would now be 8.3%. So just from holding on to those shares of Lowe's, your cash flow return, your yield on cost, has gone from 1.5% to 8.3%. You're seeing an 8.3% cash flow return on all of your shares based on your original cost basis. Hopefully that makes sense. Kind of a roundabout way to answer that, but that's how you can get big dividends from investing in some of these stocks like Lowe's that have a lower starting dividend yield but a high dividend growth rate. The thing is, though, you need ample time to let it do its thing. You're not going to be locking in those crazy yield on costs overnight. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. Let me keep going. Hopefully that answers the question. Okay. So I was kind of on it. How buying Lowe's can lock high, how buying Lowe's can lock in a high dividend. So I think I answered the right question there. And if I didn't, and if there's something else you want me to explain, just let me know. Let me know in the chat and I'll circle back to it. But, let me scroll back up here to the chat. See what I missed these last few minutes. Okay. Man, I think I'm kind of missed a lot here. So I'm scrolling back up about 15 minutes. Let's see. Oh, let's see. This is okay, good question. So how do you make up your mind on growth versus dividends? I'm constantly battling in my mind on which is better for the long term. So I really don't think it has to be mutually exclusive. I think there are plenty of dividend paying stocks out there that will also offer growth. And I think by growth, you mean probably just share price returns, right? Um, I think if you look at a lot of the great dividend growth stocks that have a history of growing their dividends, naturally share price appreciation will follow along with that. And we can actually look at Lowe's again as an example, okay? So as we established over the last 10 years, Lowe's dividend has hovered in a certain range, 1.5%. It looks like at most it peaks up to around 2% here and there. 2020, it really jumped up, which is crazy, to 3%. But generally, Lowe's hovers between like 1.5% to maybe like 2.1% on the high end, 2.2% in very crazy exceptions, very, very crazy circumstances. Okay. So it hovers within that range. For the yield to stay kind of consistent like that over that time period, the dividend per share has to grow at a similar rate as the share price, because that's when you look at the dividend yield, that's what it is. It's the dividend per share in relation to the current share price. So for the dividend to stay kind of in a stable range, the dividend growth rate and the share price growth rate have to be kind of, in the same ballpark, because that's the only way that you can have a yield this stable. So um the point that I'm trying to get to is that's just an example of how it's not necessarily mutually exclusive to go with dividends and growth. You can still get a lot of growth from dividend paying companies. Um, and typically the ones that are growing their dividend at aggressive rates are ones that are also able to grow their earnings and their free cash flow at respectable rates. And if a company is able to do that, then share price appreciation should follow as well. So um, I understand like the battle in your mind, but I don't think you have to go all in on dividend paying stocks or non-dividend paying stocks. And I also don't think you need to think that just because you're buying dividend paying stocks, you're sacrificing some growth, because that's not entirely the case. It really comes down to the individual company. So, okay. So we got another message from Shadi here. So can buying stocks at lower price give me higher dividends? Is that true? Kind of, sort of. Kind of, sort of. So as we've discussed, and that's a good question. As we've discussed, the calculation for the dividend yield is dividend per share divided by share price. Okay, the dividend yield is the dividend per share in relation to the current share price. Now, as the denominator gets smaller, or as the share price goes down, just based on how the calculation is, that is going to result in a higher dividend yield. So for example, let's go back to what we were talking about earlier. If you have a $100 stock that pays a $2 per share dividend, that's going to be a 2% yield. But let's say that stock then goes from $100 per share to $50 per share, and it's still paying that $2 per year dividend. Well, $2 per share into $50 for the share price, that's now a 4% 4% yield. So your dividend yield doubled just by being able to buy at a lower price. So long story short, the general rule of thumb is as the share price goes down, the dividend yield goes up. So you're not getting a higher dividend per share, but you are getting a higher yield on your investment. So hopefully that makes sense and that answers your question there. Okay. Um, let's see. I must have missed Mark's comment here. Let me scroll up. Yeah, okay. Mark in Alaska. So can I ask what your highest paying dividend stock or ETF would be? So in my portfolio, my highest paying, if we're talking highest yielding, highest yielding would be, we'll look at highest yielding and we'll also look at the one that generates the most income for me. So my highest yielding stock based on the yield on cost is going to be Blue Owl Capital Corporation right here. My yield on cost is 12.75%. The current dividend yield is 11.4%. So very nice. And my highest paying position is going to be Realty Income, which brings in $313 every single year. It's about 26 in some change every single month. But SCHD is not too far behind that. If we go over here, SCHD is bringing in now $283 in dividends per year. So pretty soon this will be over. I mean, with every share of SCHD I buy, it's an extra dollar added onto that. So pretty soon, by the end of the year, this should be over $300 for the annual dividend income. But some of my other big payers, in addition to those two, would be like excuse me, like EPD, I'm getting 237 every year from that. Altria Group 226, Main Street 217. So I've got a few that are paying over $200 per share. Got a handful that are, between 100 and 200, and then I still have some that are less than $100 per year. But that's kind of the breakdown of things so far. Let's see. Let's keep going. Oh, this is a great question. So, Joey, anyone know of a good free tool for index fund overlap? So, I don't know exactly about index fund overlap, but if you go to this website here, you can go to, well, just Google like ETF overlap, and it'll take you to this tool right here, etfrc.com/funds/overlap. And you can put in two different funds. Like, for example, we'll do SCHD and VYM just for fun. And you can see what the overlap is between the two. So just from this, we can see the 88% of SCHD holdings are also in VYM, but only 16% of VYM's holdings are in SCHD. So very nifty tool, free to use. Let's see. Let's see. David says, "Hey Ryan, can you make a video about tax implications regarding EPD?" You know what? I have before. Let me way back in the archives, I have one that talks about exactly that. Let me see real quick if I can find it. Gosh, man, it's the title of it is something about high yield stocks here. It's way back in the archives. If I don't find it in a minute, I'll move on. But there's some video that I did a while ago talking about MLPs. And in that video, I covered how they're taxed. But long story short, off the top of my head, and you guys jump here in the live chat and fill in any gaps that I'm missing. Long story short, the dividend payments that you receive from MLPs, such as EPD, are considered a return of capital. And what that does is it lowers your cost basis. So in effect, you're not really paying taxes on the income that you receive from MLPs. And because it lowers your cost basis, what happens is that eventually, if you hold it long enough, your cost basis with the MLP is going to get to zero, at which point then the dividends you receive from there would be taxed at the long-term capital gains rate. I believe they would be taxed as a qualified dividend. You guys let me know if I have that right or wrong in the chat. And also, like I said, fill in any blanks if I'm missing something there. But in a nutshell, that's how it works. Let's see. I don't know. It's somewhere in here. Man, throwback. Look at these thumbnails, guys. Something about like buy these high yield stocks or something like that. I don't know. I'm sorry. I thought I would be able to find it pretty quickly. Maybe it's this one right here, actually. It could be this one. I know I talked about Altria in this one, but this could be one. I don't know. Maybe that one. Some of these thumbnails, man, cracking me up. Anyway, let's keep going. Maybe we'll go a little bit longer on the stream tonight, guys. This is a good question too. How do you choose a dividend stock when starting? Also, when taking money, how do you minimize or, if possible, avoid taxes? Okay, so with the first question, how do you choose a dividend stock? there's a handful of things that you need to consider. And I have a video on the channel. If you go to just search on my channel, like my foolproof method for picking winning dividend stocks or something like that. I did a video where I talk about some of the easy things that you can look for in an investment. But among those things, first and foremost, what you want to determine is if you understand the company that you're investing in. Can you wrap your head around how they make money and how they generate revenue? Do you know in a nutshell what they do? Do you understand the company? Basically, that's first and foremost what you should be looking for. Second, you also want to make sure the company is growing, and this is when it comes down to looking at the financials. And this is, I think, one of the cool things about Snapstock is it makes it so easy to just quickly gauge if a company is growing. Like for example, with Visa, you just can search it and see, okay, revenue's going straight up and to the right, earnings per share are going straight up and to the right, free cash flow per share is straight up to the right. And so this is the type of company that you'd want to invest in, one that looks like this, one who's continuing to grow the top and bottom line, one whose margins are stable, who may be even becoming more profitable over time, and who has dividend stats like this. So you want to look at those things. Do you understand the company? Is it growing? And I think those two things, those two things are a great place to start um, when figuring out stocks to invest in. So, and go check out that video that I mentioned a moment ago. It'll go into all of that gibberish that I just spewed in a lot more detail. Also, when taking money, how do you minimize, or if possible, avoid taxes or fees? So one way to avoid taxes is to just invest in like a Roth IRA or something like that is, after tax. So you don't have to pay taxes on any of the gains or dividends that you receive. But the caveat is you can't do that without incurring penalties until you're 59 and a half, or basically almost 60 years old. So it's one of those things where you really can't, you don't have a lot of flexibility in terms of when you can use the money that you have invested in a Roth IRA, but you don't have to pay taxes on it. So that's a good thing. I think everyone should have a Roth IRA, should be contributing to a Roth IRA for sure. I mean, assuming you'll hit 60 years old at some point, you're going to want to have as much tax-free gains and income to work with as possible. So I think it's definitely a good thing to do. Now, another way that you can minimize or possibly avoid taxes is if let's say that you sell a stock for a gain. Well, you can simultaneously sell a stock for a loss. And depending on how big the loss and the gains are, that could cancel out the tax burden that you would incur from selling out of the position where you have gains. The loss could cancel out the gain. Or if the loss from the stock that you're selling is less than the gain from the other stock that you're selling, it will at least minimize the tax burden. So that's another way that you can do it as well. But really, that's, if you're in a taxable brokerage account. But those are really like the only two ways to minimize the tax burden. If you hold a stock for longer than a year, you'll pay better, more favorable tax rates than if you were to sell a stock and lock in gains within a year or less. So the tax rates on that are different. So that's another way. But those are the few things that you can do. Some really good questions tonight. Really good questions. Don't even get me started. I know what you're doing. Cody. Let's see. Looks like I'm actually doing pretty well in the chat. I'm not too far behind, just a couple minutes. Let's see. Yes, going back to the MLP stuff. Okay, that's kind of what I was saying. Zal here with another. The amount is a tax, but yeah, okay. So I was pretty on the ball with that. I missed the dividend/growth stock analogy back in the chat. Let me see. Let me see if I can find it, Striper. I think it's like this. Okay, so The way I look at building a dividend portfolio quickly is the dividend stocks are the space capsule. The booster rocket to propel the capsule is the growth stocks. Yeah, yeah, that's a good way to look at it. For sure. For sure. Let's see. Oh, okay. Looks like Matt found the MLP video. Buy these dividend. Oh, there we go. So here it is. If you want to check out talking about the MLPs, this one right here, just go look for this this video on the channel. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you finding that. Um, let's see. Oakenheart, do you offer a free trial of Snap stock? Not at the moment. We don't. Maybe eventually we'll do that, but right now we're just looking for members to join the test group, to help provide feedback, share their thoughts, and help us improve the product after this initial launch. So right now it's pretty limited. We only offer like an annual membership. There's a 25% discount to come with that annual membership. As a founding member, you get a 25% lifetime discount. But at the moment, there's no free trial of Snapstock or the perks in the investment club. At some point, we may roll that out, but not currently. There isn't one. So let's see. Nice, Mr. Ortiz. My portfolio just closed today, $80,500. So right there with you. Nice. Oh, okay. Tax harvesting. Okay. Only 3K. What's up, Jeff? Good to see you, my friend. Joey, how's the new house? All moved in? Yeah, pretty much all moved in. Pretty much all moved in. Yeah, it's been awesome. I really love the new place. I think there's still like some minor stuff we have to do, like hang up some pictures, and we still need to like clean out our apartment. We still have our apartment till the end of the month, so that's something that I need to do this weekend. But yeah, pretty much all settled. It definitely feels like home, and it feels good. Thank you for asking. Ooh, baked potato, off topic. Saw an Insta reel you had a Black Flag shirt and a Bad Brain shirt. What's one of your favorite songs by them? So, yeah, I almost I was almost wore my Black Flag shirt tonight, or my Bad Brain shirt tonight. But favorite Black Flag song would probably be, I mean, Six Pack is up there. That's what my T-shirt is. It's for the song Six Pack. Um, My War, I like the album, I like the song. Um, Depression, I know it, sounds like a weird song to like, but um, Spray Paint. Yeah, there's a lot of I like more Black Flag songs than I like Bad Brains, but yeah, I like them both. Let's see. Okay. Great stream tonight. Yeah, it looks, I mean, I'm surprised I'm all caught up in the chat. Usually I'm like 15, 20 minutes behind. So yeah, we had some really good questions. I mean, it's 6:04 right now. We could wrap it up. I mean, if you guys, I'm not in a super big rush. Let me see if my wife has texted me. She called me about 30 minutes ago. I'll wrap it up in a minute. Let's see here. So will the live still be up after it ends? Yes. So after this live ends, you can go watch the replay just over on the channel. It'll be there immediately. Yeah, can we look at BKH? Sure, we absolutely can. Maybe we'll do that and we'll wrap it up. So BKH, Black Hills Corporation. I've never heard of this company, I don't think. It's a utility company. Okay. Operating in Colorado, Montana, South Dakota, and Wyoming. Okay. As well as Arkansas, Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, and Wyoming. Okay. So it's pipelines and electric utility. Okay. So let's see what's going on with it. Looks like nice dividend yield, near 5%. Decent dividend growth rate with that yield as well. And they're a dividend aristocrat, near 40 years of growth. Looks like they've had a good year, up 32%. Okay, the PE ratio is right in line with the 5-year average. It's been pretty steady over the years, looks like. Yeah, decent. Yeah. I mean, earnings are growing slowly but surely. Revenue, it looked like 2021 and 2022 were kind of rough, but otherwise revenues, growing slightly as well. Hmm. I don't know. I think it looks fine. I mean, it's been a solid dividend grower, but beyond that, and this is one of the reasons I sold out of Southern Company. I don't exactly know what to look for with utilities. It's not really my cup of tea. Like utilities, banks, insurance companies, stuff like that. It's not as much my forte. So I probably won't be able to give the best analysis on it, but seems like it's been. I at least know it's been a solid dividend payer, but beyond that, I'm not. I don't have too much of an opinion on it. Uh, oh, how many missed calls? No missed calls. Well, actually, just one missed call. Sorry, just one missed call. Let's see. Okay, we'll look at this one real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Take a look at Rollins. Okay. So let's jump back over. Search in Rollins. It's been sitting pretty at $50 per share. It's been hovering right around $50 for a while now. Man, they've had a really good year. Up almost 55% in the last 365 days, 20% so far this year. Solid dividend grower, low starting yield, but they've got that nice dividend growth CAGR, 15%, 21 years of dividend growth. Free cash flow yield's a bit on the lower end, it looks like, which is not a surprise, considering how much this stock has gone up. So the free cash flow yield could be better. The price to free cash flow is getting pretty up there as well. PE as well. I mean, the thing about Rollins, it's not at any sort of discernible discount, unfortunately, which just bothers the heck out of me. I want to own this company, but not at this price. Looking at the financials though, looking at the growth here, this is just a work of art. This is pure class right here, guys. Revenue very consistent. Earnings per share, once again, very consistent. Earnings is growing faster than revenue based on this. Yeah, free cash flow per share is looking fantastic as well. Most of the revenue is subscription based. I think something like, oh man, I think it was like over 80% is subscription based. I might have that a little bit wrong, but that's one of the things I like about this company. Very predictable revenue and earnings. The bottom line, it's getting better over time. We can see this company increasing its profitability. Same thing with the free cash flow margin. This is going up as well. And the gross margins have been very consistent right around the 50% mark. So overall, great looking company. Debt's not too crazy. In 2023, it doesn't have the trailing 12 months right here, or maybe it's just so low that I can't put my mouse over it. But at its worst, the net debt to free cash flow was 1.44. So it would only take them about a year and a half to pay off all their debt with the free cash flow. If they wanted to, that's a good sign. Like we said, very, very great dividend grower. Dividends actually quadrupled in the last 10 years. So yeah, Rollins, the one that got away, my great white whale. Never say never though. We'll see what happens. Okay. Yeah, Zal, we briefly talked about Snap-on's quarterly earnings very briefly at the start of the stream very briefly. Yes, Snapstock is my website, and you can find more information. Actually, there's a link to it in the description of the video. You can get access to Snapstock by becoming a member of the investment club, and there's a link to that in the description just to learn more about it, so you can check it out and see what it's all about. Let's see. Yeah, any chance you're going to buy more Snap-on? Probably not at this point, just because I mean, I'm anchored. I mean, I would have I have a psychological hurdle I would need to get over if I'm going to buy more shares at this price, because my average cost is only about $210 per share. But it's still not at, believe it or not, it's still not at a terrible price according to this or valuation. You know, the PE ratio is still only 14. Price to free cash flow is still about the same as well. Free cash flow yield, I think this at 8% is before this big jump right here. But if I just crunch the numbers real quick, so the free cash flow per share in the trailing 12 months is 22. Let's do 22.78 divided by the current share price of 326.09 times 100. That's going to leave us with a free cash flow yield still at 6.98. So we can round up to 7%. So that's still a pretty juicy free cash flow yield. So if you use that as a method of valuation, then it's not a bad time to buy Snap-on still, even after its run up. And I remember I was looking at Alpha Spread earlier today. I think their base case intrinsic value was about 260 for Snap-on. So based on that, it would be a bit overvalued by about 20%. But the best case scenario for Snap-on that they had was about $360 something per share. So it would still be roughly 10% undervalued based on the best case. So it just depends. But yeah, I think you could make the case for buying Snap-on even at current prices. And let's just while we're here, let's run through some of these financials real quick. There's for some reason the 2020 year isn't filling in, but revenue growth is in 2014. Revenue growth has been great. Earnings growth has been great. Free cash flow per share growth has been great as well. So this is exactly what you'd want to see. Margins are going up over time. The net margin's gone from about 13 to over 20 in the trailing 12 months. Free cash flow margin's looking good, going from just under 10 to now 24 in the trailing 12 months. So that's looking very great. Debt's clearly not an issue. So that's always a good sign. And, they've been a very strong dividend grower, and that dividend is well covered. The one thing to keep an eye on is the earnings payout ratio does look to be going up over the years. So it's gone from 25.5 to about 37.7, from 2015 till today. Still very well covered, but that trend is something that you want to keep an eye on. If that trend progresses over the next 10 years, then who knows? Snap-on's payout ratio could be upwards of 50 or 60%. So you just want to keep an eye on that. But still, there's plenty of room to continue growing and paying that dividend based on these payout ratios here. So, yeah. Okay. Okay, guys, I think this is a good spot to wrap it up. We'll answer it with this, finish it off with this last question from Baked Potato, who's been bringing the heat tonight. What sites do you use to buy stocks? So I use both Charles Schwab and M1 Finance. And do you also know Artworks are another asset that is growing? I have heard that, like Zal said, talking about Masterworks. I've been hit up by them a couple of times. But yeah, in artists, I have no interest in doing anything like that. Just sticking to stocks. So Jake, just very quickly, man. Zal hit the nail right on the head. I'm not a fan. Any of the yield max stuff, not my cup of tea. It gets brought up literally every single stream. Someone asks about them, which is, understandable. People are very curious about them. I don't blame people for being curious about things that have insanely high dividend yields or pay weekly dividends. But just know, like, when it comes to those funds, at least this is my take on it. I think the fact that they pay a weekly dividend is just a marketing gimmick. I certainly would not buy an ETF just because it pays a weekly dividend. And I certainly would not buy an ETF like TSLY or the like just because their yields are so high. I think I just think those funds are trouble. So I'm gonna wrap it up there. But yeah, it gets brought up just about every stream. And long story short, I'm not a fan of yield max stuff. So, but thank you for the question. So, but yeah, guys, we are gonna wrap it up there officially. Got, went a little bit longer. We're totaling about 75 minutes so far. Really, really fun stream. Definitely good to be back in the saddle. Good to get the rust off. I definitely felt it right as we went live. And it's a real thing. Like I was saying, after taking a week off, you got to like warm up that muscle again. So apologize if I was rusty or tripping over words or just rambling. So you got to find your groove a little bit sometimes. But thank you guys. I mean, all near 160 of us who are still in this stream. Thank you for hanging out with me this last hour. And yeah, good to be back. We'll see what next week brings. Should be interesting. I do have a quick question for you guys. Before we sign off though for the night, what are you looking for? What earnings are you looking forward to next week? I'm not sure what the calendar is looking like, but what stocks, what are some good dividend payers reporting next week? Let me know. Let me actually pull that up here on Seeking Alpha as well. So, because I'm not sure, I want to know what earnings we got. I still need to go through LVMH's earnings. I think I might do that tomorrow. No, I guess the view doesn't have earnings. Huh. Okay. Whatever. Will it tell me here? No, it won't. Yeah. Who we got next week? Who do we got? So I see ADC. Yep. Microsoft next week. NVIDIA. Who else we got? Let's see if I can add a view real quick. Earnings, upcoming announcement dates. Let's just do that for now. Whatever. It's too much trouble. Seeking Alpha, they used to show all that stuff. Tisk. Okay. Coca-Cola, Old Dominion, that'll be good. Sherwin-Williams, that'll be good to check out. Sherwin-Williams is sneakily like a beast of a company. McDonald's, TRMD. What is that one? Torm. Never heard of that. Verizon next week. Philip Morris, Union Pacific, Norfolk Southern, Costco, IBM. Yeah, huh. Interesting. You guys are saying TRMD is amazing. It's got a 20% yield. Looks like. Okay, Next Era Energy. All right, cool. So yeah, we got some good ones next week. Lam Research, yep. T-Mobile, Tesla. All right, my friends. Watsco, Suzuki Man. Yep. Texas Instruments. Yeah, hoping for something to drop. Yeah, maybe let me actually, because I don't want to go through the trouble of setting it up on Seeking Alpha. I think Snowball Analytics will show me. Let's see here. Oh, ex-dividend earnings. Okay, so we got, looks like I don't have any next week. We got can I zoom out a little bit? Okay, won't let me. But yeah, it looks like the only one it'll show me coming up is KRC on the 28th. So that's cool. I'm actually looking forward to that one. KRC has been pumping, so we'll see if they put up some good numbers. Yeah, Visa, MasterCard, MCO, SPGI, and FICO. There you go. UPS, yeah. All right, guys. I know I keep saying it, but yeah, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you again for hanging out with me. Thanks for tuning in and making this another very fun stream. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Stay out of trouble. Keep up the good work, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.